My name is Johnny Pineyro at the Pineyro Law Firm, and unfortunately some cases don't resolve in the pre-litigation phase. So we have to commence litigation by filing a lawsuit. And really a lawsuit is essentially a complaint made by the injured party against one or more individuals or entities for compensation for injuries that were suffered. Lawsuits can be filed in many different locations at many different levels. Depending on the type of case you have, who the target defendant or defendants are, and the amount in controversy would determine where the lawsuit could be filed. Oftentimes there's many options and opportunities to file in different counties. So we try to find the county or area that we think would benefit our client the most. In a case that is filed and being litigated, ultimately the deciding entity for whether or not your client is going to get compensated is a judge or a jury. And in counties that we feel judges or juries are more favorable, we try to focus on and make sure that the lawsuit, if it can be filed in those areas, is filed. When the lawsuit begins, we go through depositions, we go through mediation, and if those attempts to resolve the cases, particularly at mediation, fail, then we proceed to trial. In Florida, at least, typically mediation is mandatory, and it's important to keep that in mind, that both sides typically try to work the case out prior to trial. Out of all the cases that are filed, about 5% actually end up in front of a jury. The process itself typically can take as much as 2 or 3 years, sometimes longer, and typically no less than a year. Once the litigation period commences, the entity that's been sued also has their lawyers. And so their lawyers are doing what they can to protect their clients, and our law firm is representing the injured parties and making sure that we can do everything possible. We do not represent any corporate clients that are defendants in cases, and we don't represent any individuals that are sued. We represent people injured, and we take a lot of pride in focusing only on the injured. With regard to those cases, they progress very gradually, and communication for us is very important. We need to make sure that the lines of communication are always open so that we understand where our clients are treating, if they've stopped treating, and what their expectations are in the case. Sometimes, because the cost can increase over time, clients would prefer to get the litigation process over sooner than later. That would save them in the long run perhaps a little bit of money on cost, although it may not make a difference with regard to the value of the case. In some cases, quite frankly, must be tried. In cases that can be resolved, it's important for us to know where our clients' expectations are so that we can make the decisions at the right time with regard to settling the case early on or moving forward and attempting to get a recovery with a jury. As in any case, you never know what's going to happen in the end, and a jury is made up of strangers, typically 6 that no one's really met in the case, and you really have no idea how it's going to turn out. Sometimes cases that should be won are lost, and cases that probably shouldn't win are won in court. And also the amount of money that you'll get from a jury is often also a gamble. So when we can afford to not try the case and focus on maximizing a settlement, we try to do that. That guarantees a couple of things. One, we know the result, and 2, the amount of money provided to our clients is typically paid within 20 days. And that's according to Florida law. Oftentimes, even if a case is won at trial, the other side has the opportunity to appeal. And we'll talk a little bit about the appeal process, but that will add typically another year or 2 to the entire process. It's not uncommon for a person who's been severely injured to never see any compensation for as much as 5 years because the appellate process is taking its natural course.